ask him right now in our face-off.
Welcome to the show, gentlemen. I believe we have we have Pompous, sir, and Mr. Man, two guys that we've good old faces. Welcome back, gentlemen. How's it been?
It's been all right.
I'm pretty good.
All right, Pompous, first question's for you. You were pretty vocal that you do not want to be called CD 2.0 anymore. Why is that?
Yeah. Because we're not CD 2.0.
Why, though? Why? Give me details.
What's
reasons.
the difference between your
How do
old
you see
roster
it?
and new? Why is this different?
No smiley rage.
Is that really like the change? Is Rude Awakening being in charge is totally different team now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh.
And Gabe's gone. Gabe was a good team captain, but our team had a lot of flaws, specifically around a couple of players, and they're gone. And hopefully our team will be better off.
Okay. All right. Well, prove me wrong. Mr. Man, AM60s, you guys played very well for the first half of last season, and then you guys definitely dropped off at the end there.
Yeah.
You know, I guess you could say you dropped off a ridge into the water to the bottom of a lake where that M60 belongs.
You were aquatic M60s, true and true.
Yeah.
What happened last season? What have you guys done to change that around this season?
There was definitely a little bit of burnout. We kind of had a lack of structure that I think affected us in the long run. We didn't really have consistent scouting of enemy teams and stuff, and just nothing holding us together.
Okay.
Much.
And you guys have changed that around. You've brought in new members. What have you done to address those issues?
We kind of used all the experience we had over the past 3 seasons. We broke our team down to the simplest forms and then rebuilt it back up. We have a dedicated coach now. We have someone who does analyst stuff of the other teams and our team.
So you have people scouting out your opponents. You have people doing the homework. Because I definitely heard this from both of your teams during map picking, which actually I didn't have either of you there, unfortunately. But it's very clear that you guys have done a lot of homework. Is that something you're expecting that is going to be giving you that edge maybe a little bit more, doing your homework, studying, keeping the stats?
Yeah, definitely.
Pompous, any final words here for Mr. Man before we get underway?
Nope. Get standard stuff. Good luck, have fun, and should be a good match, I think.
All right, Mr. Man, anything for Pompous and for your fans?
Good luck, have fun, and the stash will be growing in soon.
All right, that's good to hear.
Oh, and Rockstar, if you say CD 2.0, we're raiding March on Stronghold.
Bring it on.
Please don't. I joined your clan because I needed people to stop inviting me to other
We're
clans.
in a clan because we like to fight, so bring it on.
Okay, thank you guys so
boxes.
much. Oh, gosh. I can't believe someone from Mo is trying to talk up this. Come on, dude. We're in Mo.
I like to fight. What's wrong with that?
Thanks, guys.
Never said we were going to win. I just said I like to fight.
I joined his clan because I needed people to stop asking me to join theirs, and now people keep threatening to war deck. And I can't deal with that. All right, man. I need to have
strongholds. They can come try to take our boxes, and we'll sit there and take theirs.
No, you're not going to win. Not against those guys. They're in the Gold League.
So?
You're not in the Gold League.
But we have a whole bunch of Gold League players. If you want to argue about this, I mean,
okay,
we got it.
Come on, dude.
Have some faith.
No, just
no love.
Don't tell.
No
You're
love.
Make them angry. They have to worry about fighting AM60s. All right, so let's look at map picks. Look at these. So, Cliff. Murrow, Ghost Town, Himmelsdorf, Proct as a tiebreaker. Starting off on Cliff, I think this is something we can expect from Aquatic.
That was a map that CD last season played very well, and Pompous definitely up in that A6 position a lot of times in that grill. We saw him in the qualifiers playing the S-Tank on this map a lot, so we'll have to see if that comes back.
Yep.
M60s on Ghost Town was something that, not necessarily a rare treat, but they only did it a couple times, but when they did, they seemed to have a pretty good idea about what they want to do.
Yeah, and also Cliff was chosen by Aquatic, Murrow was chosen by Top Tier, Ghost Town was chosen by Aquatic, and then by default, Himmelsdorf was the only map left.
So no Ruinberg, no Steps.
Nope. If you want specifics, Aquatic banned Ruinberg, and Top Tier banned Steps. Proc was banned by Aquatic as the first ban.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they actually the entire time, Rude Awakening and I think it was Felix.
No, we'll have to see if we can get Rude Awakening on the if Top Tier win. We'll have to see if we can get Rude Awakening on the winners interview there.
I wouldn't
maybe
mind
ask
Pompous.
him about that.
Yeah, maybe so. But Pompous seemed like he knew what he was talking about. But he did seem like he didn't want to exactly tell us about the homework that they were doing. Because if you just start gathering all of those stats and start looking at the videos, trying to study your opponents in depth in a way that you haven't in the past, I can see that as being something where you're not exactly ready to just talk about it openly. Because if you just start talking about your tactics behind the scenes, what you're doing behind the scenes to prep, that gives a little bit away. And some people can find ways of taking advantage of that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's misinformation. Trying to just block all that. Being a little bit more secretive about who you're practicing with and all that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of talking about.
Yeah, I get it to a certain extent. But, at the end of the day, homework's only good for so much. You have to turn around and you have to identify the weaknesses in the other team, and you have to find a way to execute. And so even if you have an idea or a theory about how you're going to execute against their weaknesses, you got to pull it off, and that's another thing.
That's all down to practice. All down to that prep work. Yeah, just get in training rooms and just run through positions. I know I've spent hours with other scouts just going over individual bushes on a map and going, what happens if I use this spot? What can happen from every angle with every tank that matters, and what's going to happen because of that? And you can spend hours doing that.
Yep. Well, let's see how well each of their team's homework pays off here, because they're going to be under battle in just a second.
Cliff, the most dynamic map in the league. Battles on Cliff always turn into desperate double-edged fights. Teams start from the same spots as they do in standard battles. The first base is located near the defender's spawn point, and the second is at the bottom of the hill. Sometimes teams split their forces and send several tanks through the 1-2 line to the left of the small hill, but usually both teams play at the center. The attacking team can send one of the tanks up to the lighthouse or behind it. Fast and quick-firing vehicles are better suited for this map, mainly medium tanks, including tanks equipped with autoloaders.
And looking at the lineups here, top tier coming in with 5 Batchats, an S-Tank, and a T-54 lightweight. Meanwhile, M60s, 5 Batchats of their own, an Object 430 V2, and an M53-55 while they're attacking.
Now, looking at these opening moves, I'm not sure. I am actually kind of worried about that Object 430 pick. Why is that being brought over? For
Great
example,
camo tank. That's the biggest thing, honestly, is that the camo on it's very good. Bounce coming off a Dark Ninja on the back there from Rude Awakening and Delph. An ex-soldier who I was told would not be playing is sitting here actually playing.
That's interesting. Yeah, why? Who's missing from the lineup that you would have expected them?
I am trying to think about that. Top tier, Soldier Pompous Zitz, Merle's Delph, Pekako, and Rude Awakening. I will have to check out some stuff. But I digress. We are underway. Mr. Man in his Batchat. I believe that is him over there. No, it's actually Feel My Potato over here at H1, just spotting down the 1 line. Meanwhile, the M53-55 chilling out down here in K1. And he's just looking for a pick on the hill, which is where they're going to expect that S-Tank to pop up most likely.
Indeed. Although the S-Tank, where is it really actually at this point? Because S-Tank's all the way in the back of the map. Pompous is just way back there. And oddly enough, what I love about what I'm seeing is the position you're seeing this artillery piece zero in right now is not the position that Pompous is in. Pompous is actually slightly
just to the right.
Yeah, the right.
The shot goes out. It's going to come in there. It's going to hit the rock. Doesn't actually get around the rock either.
No. It wouldn't have done much anyway. Now, looking at the other portions of the map, we have to pay attention to these the entire time as well. You do have the medium tanks of Delph, and I believe that is Ex-Soldier. Both of them are starting to get a little aggressive, move forward, taking a forward position, and they have the high ground. Below them, on the low ground, Zitz is moving in, and Rude Awakening in a T-54 lightweight, a little scout, is going to be holding back. And we're seeing Artie zeroing in, looking for a shot. Will he be able to connect on anything at all? Mural is spotted again. Artie's going to have a chance. Shoots. Not going to hit. Mural is doing a good job understanding that there's an artillery piece, and you have to keep moving. You cannot sit still for too long, especially when you know you've just gotten spotted. Artie's coming for you. Artie's
definitely.
And in a Batchat, a tank with such thin armor, you can't afford to take actually any large artillery shells whatsoever. They just pen straight through.
It's looking for some shots onto Mr. Man, but it's actually Bales. It's going to push around in the bat chat all the way out wide. And he's starting to see if he can light anything on the back of this hill. Mostly Merle Sheikta is the main one he's looking for. An artillery shot comes out and splashes Merle's for a couple hundred. Nothing big there. And top tier still in the driver's seat of this game.
Yep. They have the ability to dictate what's going to go on. But if you look at their hit points, they've got only a very slight lead. Top tier's sitting on 11,458. Aquatics, 9K. That's nothing that you can't get back in a short engagement, 1 or 2 shells, right? So if you're thinking that there's any huge advantage to be given, I don't think there's anything yet. We're going to have to wait for that crucial moment, that one arty shell that connects for a huge amount of damage. Miral's probably going to be the target for that. But he's backed off quite a bit more, and he's not going to be rejoining the battle or probably seeing much artillery for at least a minute or two.
He's just chilling out here. Pompous still sitting in the backfield. Top tier know they've done a good bit of damage, and they can just sit here and hold these angles pretty well.
Yeah, and let's actually take a moment and listen to Aquatic. I would like to hear what they're going for in this. They're on attack. They need to figure out how they're going to break this, how they're going to pressure cap.
I don't think we want to push this side, though. I think we're going to want to group our bats and go like
spot
this.
hill?
I mean, I can try.
I'm spotting as much as I can.
No.
Shot out.
Nice, good job. Okay,
Nice shot.
now we can work on OG, Hako. Okay, let's just get safe.
I mean, is Og safe or no? For Mark?
No,
He's
August is
behind-
not
behind
safe.
the
He's
rope.
not safe
We
at
can
all.
work this side for a little bit, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
Veggie,
poking.
do you think you need to stay there, or can you
Just
kind
wait
of come
for-
middle and
wait
sit
for
on
RD
this
to
part and
reload
watch
that.
F line?
Fucking.
If he does that again,
There's a point to that right now.
I'll kill him.
How long on your load, Marsh?
5 seconds.
Is he
Just
staying
tell
in
me if
base?
you want to do that.
He's sitting there, but I don't want, because if he goes up to the bush, it's a lot easier shot, but I have to RNG.
I can't light him.
You just hit him, whoever fired.
No,
Kills
just
him.
Just blind it. Blind it the best you can.
He's probably poking it now, I would think. Because he knows Bale's
I got a bad RNG.
Okay, Veggie, you need to start coming up middle.
should I wait
Switching.
here?
Yeah.
Switching. No, I don't have anything on Delph. Okay, I'm still looking for Ohako.
Excellent.
I don't have anything for X.
Tell me when you reload it so I can poke once.
I got 15. You can take your time.
Nice shot.
They might be coming middle. No, they're just bringing
I'm gonna look
extra
for
middle.
further lights. Yeah, it's just
5 seconds. I'm gonna probably shoot at X Soldier.
they're probably pushing girls right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
looks like they're
be
pushing.
watching for Bills.
I'm running.
Veggie, be ready to get up on top of the hill.
All right, that was solid comms. I was hearing from Aquatic right there. Good communication. Already
Just working through things.
Yeah.
And the one thing I found funny was they didn't really seem that excited when they just completely annihilated Merle Sheikta off that hill.
I think it's because they knew that's actually expected. It's an artillery piece. That is a bat chat. And you know what? It happens enough to the point where I guess it's kind of lost its luster for most of us. Where it's like, okay, one shot? Yeah. Okay. That's going to happen. What I did like seeing is the coordination. The fact that everyone appeared to be kind of in that group think. Everyone was on the same page. Everyone understood the goals.
Having an
they were
open
going for.
discussion, looking at what they want to do, someone saying, no, this is a bad idea, and they're just trusting a person that's in that spot recognizes it's a bad idea, and they're taking his word for it.
Yeah, and even more than that, it wasn't even people needing to contradict each other. It was people even just saying, hey, this is what's happening, and this is what we need to do. And everyone going, yeah, that does seem like a really good idea. Let's do that. Although, we could see top tier making some kind of a move, but with the damage being dealt out, it's now 8,000 hit points for top tier versus 6,000 of Aquatic. So Aquatic's going to need to make a move. They are taking a lot of damage, and there is a fight. Fuel My Potato is about to go down, and that will be it. He is down. And now Hako, actually.
Just not going well for M60s, looking at all these different angles. And they're just bleeding HP left and right. They tried to make a decisive push, and the crossfire was just too strong. And the funniest thing, in my opinion, is that S-Tank really hasn't been in the fight. I don't think he's pumped out that much damage. His HP's completely out, and top tier's still managing to do very well.
I don't think he's had the opportunity to get an angle on anything. There's been 0 angles for Pompous to capitalize. And because of that, well, he hasn't really needed to, but he hasn't done much damage.
Earlier, I talked about how players that play the S-Tank are a risky pick for fantasy, and this is exactly why. I don't really I could be wrong, but I don't believe he got off much damage at all, not more than a couple shots.
I'm even questioning whether or not he got almost any damage at all out, because if you looked at the way tanks were playing from Aquatic,
they were playing to play safe from him.
Yeah, they were doing that exactly. They knew he was there, and they said, anything I do is going to account for the fact that you are in that position. Because aside from this one, the 103B, there's nothing that I'm truly afraid of. I can take a shell from a bat chat. That's fine. But against the 103B, if I'm in the open and I get tracked, he's firing so quickly that I might not be able to get out. It doesn't matter if I even have 2 repair kits. I might not get out.
Yep.
And that's enough for me to say that makes sense.
That is going to be a 1-0 lead in favor of top tier.
All right, so top tier starts this one off. Nothing outside of expectations too much, I'd say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And looking at it, not to call them CD again, but looking at it, last season, these players played this map very well. This is one of the maps where we saw them play a lot. They struggled a little bit early on, and then they got pretty comfortable at it. They had some very good strats. And the same players on this roster, a lot of them, showing that they still got it.
Yeah. They do. And that's what I expected out of top tier. This is a team that, just by seeing their name, says quite a bit. Because the implication of their team coming back and being in the league is that someone got fired up about getting I'll say this maybe from their perspective, but getting a real team together, getting the guys that I want together, getting the kind of roster that really is going to make a difference. And a lot of it's going to ride on energy and passion.
To a certain extent, I don't think that Rude Awakening would have brought top tier back if he wasn't ready to do it 100% and go, and not bring that name out unless they were fully committed to it.
Precisely. And Aquatic AM60s is, as we heard, coming back from a real downer. So them starting off on a rough foot against a team like top tier, understandable. Whether or not they can bounce back from that, take a hit, and then keep going, that's something that they should be able to do. Because guess what? They've been getting beat up all last season. So if they can't deal with a bad start, then that says something about Aquatic and perhaps their fate the rest of the season.
If you want to talk about RNG, I got a fun little tidbit for you here.
Oh, yeah?
So, looking at it, Marsh actually had 2 connections.
Oh, yeah?
For 1800 even, which is the same HP as a bat chat. So, while he didn't one-shot the bat chat from full HP, he still managed to roll 1800 even. So the RNG, the math just worked out.
Did he splash the bat chat that he one hit before?
Yes.
I was pretty sure that was
so
the case.
2 shots. Well, yeah, that would make sense certainly then.
Yeah, you just splash.
Okay, there you go.
You don't get credit for a connecting
I forgot
shot.
that's where that splash was. I thought it was on one of the other bat chats, but no, now I think about it, it was an early splash on the Marsh, and then he got that second shot, which then you have to wonder if that is the case.
Yeah.
Marsh staying in the same spot, already got splashed once, knew that was close, yet decided to stay in the same position where I knew Artie was already zeroed on. So
yeah. Let's take a minute, though, and take a look at our offline replays for you guys, a little feature to show you an update on Eclipse versus Rival. 2-1 is the place that we're at in this replay, and a north side cap pressure by, actually that's a defense, I should say, by Rival, trying to hold the cap. They're able to take down Vetro, it looks like. And at a very even health pool, are going to continue pushing forward.
Well, something I want to point out here real quick, just cut you off, is Eclipse bringing the Emil too. So multiple teams now bringing that tier 9. Comes in there and gets the kill onto Fulcrus as well.
Yeah, and here we go. Oh, nice. Jumping to the next one. Eclipse wins that last battle in Himmelsdorf, and then Rival versus Eclipse in a southwest side little brawl. Dangerous for Eclipse, as I see on the minimap and for the position on the screen. Rival... Oh, Eclipse was able to win that battle in the long run. And so going on to the next one, you had 4-1. This looks like a win waiting to happen for Eclipse. So Eclipse, our second place team from last season, is going to be able to win over Rival in a 5-1. It's
going to tie them with Apex on exact score lines because that goes to round difference. It's going to be 5-1 for both teams. So starting off where they left off, right on Apex's tail.
Would you say Valence and Rival would be a decent baseline, about even? Based on just like
I think I'm really excited to see Valence against a lot of these teams. Honestly, I think they're in a pretty good place to be playing a good bit of them. I don't think they're going to be a pushover at all. So once they get a couple more games under their belt, I think they can put up a fight versus anyone.
All right.
But enough about Valence and Apex. We're on to our second battle. Back onto Cliff. looking at the lineups here, nothing surprising really. No Swedish tanks this game. It is going to be top tier bringing the artillery this time though. Looking at it, 6 bat chats and an M4043, which can one-shot a bat chat. Meanwhile, M60s, 4 bat chats, 2 TVPs, and an RU-251.
I'm more standard from Aquatic. That, from top tier, you know what that says? That says, I'm going to drive forward, and we are going to smash it. It's going to be one huge engagement. That's what you're going for with a bat chat run like that. Or at least one very brief, very damaging engagement where you completely wipe out 3 or 4 tanks and leave.
To a certain extent, for that to work, that M4043 is there for one shot. He needs to have a great opening shot and just put it just in favor for the rest of top tier to clean up. I don't know that they'd go head-to-head like that, though. But
well, in that case, I'm going to be following him and seeing what he's doing. So I'll have my little arty cam, see if he's able to get a little one-shot, maybe some early damage. Nice spotting onto the RU-251. That's Marsh, and onto Mr. Man as they move into position.
Mr. Man knows he needs to get arty safe, but he sticks out. Oh, this could be disastrous. That's a TVP. That is a big soft target. He fires.
Almost. But on the high ground, we do have a fight. Felix is going to be able to go down. Good focus fire from Aquatic to start, top tier to start this one off. Aquatic is blue team trying to hold their ground, and that's going to be Marsh driving into the middle of the Aquatic pack, trying to distract them. And the health pools are quickly dropping for top tier.
And this game is over before it started. I mean, we're a minute in, and 2 tanks are already down for M60s. 2,400 HP is all that's left. They're going to try to dump in to get Akako and Zitz down. They know they're reloading, and this is their only opportunity to even this out. But the rest of the bat chats for top tier are coming down, getting on top of them. They're going to take the engagement, and 4 one-shot tanks alive for M60s. This game is over. This is 2-0 in favor of top tier.
Yeah, a little credit also to Delth here. He's gotten 2 solid connections on his artillery piece so far. Dark Ninja's going to go down now, and matter of time, would you say, before top tier is able to...
This was over 40 seconds ago.
I think that's a fair assessment as well. Now, Feel My Potato, last tank alive. Where is he? What's he doing? He's hiding. Poor little... Oh, no, he's coming up. He's going to fight. He's gonna try and make a last stand. There's not a lot he can really do. 3,000 hit points is not really possible. But top tier, really impressive out the gate. 2 wins in a row. And, oh, would you look at that? That's cool. Okay. That's some style.
Hopefully
points.
we got a replay of that.
Oh, we got a replay of that.
That'll be cool.
We've got the replay machine this season, dudes. We got a little upgrade. We brought back fantasy. We got it surprising. We got replay now. We'll give you updates of matches that are not broadcast. We're stepping it up, guys. We're trying to really bring you the next level of the show. Because it matters.
Yeah, speaking of fantasy, something I want to say is...
Yeah?
Oh, my fantasy points.
Which reminds me, we should remind everyone about fantasy. So go to WGL.gg/fantasy-WGL. We'll throw that up on a little lower third in a minute or two. But head on over there, check it out, and play the numbers game. Really get invested in these players and their performance throughout the season. We are going to be giving away prizes. Top tier and Aquatic M60s are currently fighting. This is the first day of broadcasting for those of you that have just joined us. I know, you don't always get to be right on time, but I'm glad you're here right now.
And also remember our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WGLNA. All of the VODs of all of our shows are up there from last season and all the seasons before that. Great shot there from Feel My Potato. And then Zitz picking him off. Great stuff there. Great dodge. Oh, that looks so sick.
Oh, yeah. That's why we play this game. Actually, that's probably one of my favorite things about physics when they added it, is you get the coolest stuff.
That's so awesome.
All right, damage.
This is what I was talking about.
TVP on the top.
My 2 fantasy picks from this game, Mr. Man and Pompous, coming up top for both teams. That is what I like to see. And remember, that's Mr. Man losing half his HP from the start of the game. That almost that we said to the artillery, that was still enough for a splash for 800. And just good stuff there out of him.
Yeah, I have to agree. But seeing a TVP do 3K over a bunch of bat chats like that, not surprising for the length of the battle. There's something to note about bat chats, which is you're going to get maybe 2-3 engagements total on the really high end from a bat chat. Most of the time, when you're finally face-to-face with your opponent in a tank like a bat chat, you're going to get 1 real engagement.
Right.
After that, you might retreat, and there might be a something lighter like a skirmish, you might engage from range.
Both. If it's bad chats on bad chats, they've both lost some HP, so they don't even need the full clip to kill each other.
Yeah.
And
it's an autoloader kind of a deal because the TVP
comes down to managing clips, counting shells, knowing how many shells that you can take with your HP. Can you win the trade? How many guns are left on the field? There's a whole lot of things you got to be thinking about when you start those.
But like at the core, really, it's just like I'm in a TVP. I shoot a smaller amount of damage really fast, and I reload pretty quick. So I can get in, fight, leave, and maybe 30 seconds later, I can even come back and
fight again.
Join back in.
Yep.
But with a bat chat, once you spent all 5 shells, back on out. And by the way, that's the URL we're talking about. Head on over there, get an account set up, and pick a team.
Can't get a roster for tonight. However, remember, there are weekly prizes, and the season's just starting, so even if you missed today, you can still climb into the overall standings very easily.
But to jump back onto the point that I just tangented off of, which is like 5 shells in a bat chat. Once you've spent it, your reload is just long enough that you kind of just have to leave the party. You have to just decide, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go find some fun elsewhere. We spent enough time here. Leave your tip and just go.
Yep.
Because sticking around in a bat chat very often just means you're going to take unnecessary damage, you're going to get in the way, or you might even cause your allies to stick around longer to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
definitely.
so when it comes down to that, the
you got to keep guns into the fight at the end of the day.
So at the end, the point of that was like the reason we saw a TVP at the top with damage is because the amount of time in that battle was perfect for him to just
it has
spike.
1 second between each shot, so it's fire, and then like 20 seconds to reload. And so when you can, in a 1 minute engagement, you can essentially get through 2 to 3 clips very easily, and that's 24 to 3,000 damage out.
Yeah,
which is what we saw there.
All right, so we're getting ready to go into our next map. That's going to be Muravanka.
Muravanka, a map with a great number of buildings, bushes and trees, amongst which teams hide for most of the battle. The attacking team begins the battle from the top of the village, and the defenders start from the bottom of the map. Both bases are better controlled from the hill near the first base, and from the green in the lower left corner of the map. There are many attack directions. The attacking team often attempts to gain the attention of defenders by putting pressure on the first base, whilst manoeuvring several tanks behind the second base to deliver fire into the defending's flank. Team setups are very diverse, but the players often choose the fastest tanks, even for heavy setups. They could even bring SPGs.
Looking at the lineups here, we knew top tier liked the new Swedish tanks, but really tripling down. Two Kranvagens, 3 Batjets, an S-tank, and an M4043. For those that don't know, the short name typically for the STRV-103B is the S-tank. If you Google the S-tank, that's what comes up. Yeah. Meanwhile, top tier. M60s coming in here, an I7, a Kranvagen of their own, a 140, 3 Batjets, and an RU-251.
Nothing crazy there. Now, I have to ask, what do you think is the motivation for aquatic M60s? I'm so sorry, top tier. For top tier to have the Kranvagens like they do.
Well, especially if you want to play towards this 1-2 line, the Kranvagen has the gun depression to work those ridges. It has the turret armor to poke up and over, get the shots, and then back off. I said that we'd see it in place of the heavy tanks, not auto blitters. So, normally last season we'd see teams bring either IS-7s or E5s to work this ridge where these Kranvagens are. And they've taken a lot of damage. Akako getting lit up from all angles. Can they find one more shot? Not getting the connection yet. Just a little sliver in there, and they do pick him up. Dark Ninja with a great shot from all the way down there.
That is an unfortunate failure for top tier. They have been taken advantage of. They've lost one of their most important tanks to the move they were going for. Obviously, they were going to stick those guys in a hole down and just abuse this new tank and its turret armor, but that's not going to happen so well.
And M60 is doing their homework, knowing how to counter it. They said, all right, hey, they're not on the 1-2 line, and they're in Kranvagens, so let's just assume they're going to go down this 3 line, play the outside there, and let's take control of the forest and get into the sides there. And that's how you counter the Kranvagen. You have 2 options to get rid of those things.
Yeah.
You get it out of a hold down, you get it up along the side like we saw Apex do earlier, Valence do to Apex, or you bring artillery. You do one of those 2 things. And they did the first. We've seen both so far today, but those are basically your 2 options to get those things out.
I see. Now, what's interesting to note is notice how Aquatic is moving their tanks in the east. You've got all of those Batchats in the RU actually moving around for a flank, but I don't know if they've given away to top tier what's going on. Now, X-Soldier has just started moving up against Felix, and what's important to note here is X-Soldier, I think, knows. I think he knows what's up. He knows that the tanks from Aquatic are moving around to the east. He knows he can take advantage of the situation and understands that he can make a trade which is in his advantage. And there it is. They're able to take down Felix in the IS-7, which is retribution for the tank they lost earlier, and they need that. If they hadn't gotten that IS-7 down, I think that would have come back to bite them. A tier 10 heavy tank like that just not taken down like it should have.
Next soldier actually going to leave Cap here. And look at the play that M60s are making. They've cleared the forest. They've actually moved their tanks out from that 2 line, and they've backed around to the same spot, essentially where top tier were trying to take early in the game. Yeah. But now they're in position to cover their Kronwagens. That's the difference. Is top tier kind of left them exposed. They couldn't do anything about them being in the south. I think that play was made a little bit too early. Looking at this, now the M60s on the other team have control. They can move around safely out this 4 line, and they have guns in position to cover, including a Batchat all the way up at A7.
Yeah. That Batchat up at A7, though, is moving around. He's going to try and do a flank. But he probably won't be moving in until he thinks the coast is clear. Because if he moves in too early, of course, he's going to be exposed, and the enemy from top tier is going to be able to take him down quite easily. Now, Pompous is taking a little bit of damage. He's gotten onto the cap, and in that S-tank, that's not exactly something you'd expect quite as much. He's exposed out in the open, as opposed to maybe sniping. But if he can actually get a solid shot off, which he's having trouble finding a target, he's going to be able to deal plenty of damage. Just that needs to actually happen for him. Cap is starting to rack up. Shots going out. Krongvagen against S-Tank. Krongvagen on the high ground is going to have a huge advantage. And please note that there is... actually, he's taking more damage than he's able to deal, and Pompous is going down.
Looking at it right now, picks going back and forth, and top tier making them work for it. They're putting out a lot of damage, but 4 full health tanks, 4 aquatic M60s are just going to push in here. They're going to get alongside Crucisiga, take him out, and this game's all but over. And that's going to be 2-1, still in favor of top tier, but M60s put a point on the board finally.
Yeah, I've got to give it to him there, but it's I don't know if I can say this was one where strong decisions were made or anything really. It feels like they just kind of walked into all of this, right? Or maybe I'm just misjudging that they went so quickly and that was actually decisive, but it felt like a lot of what happened just kind of happened.
The pace was dictated by M60s early. They got that pick, and I think they really set the tone from that point on.
I'd say that the pace was more like when you and someone else try and say, like, hey, I'll see you later, it was great hanging out with you tonight, shake hands kind of a thing, and then you both go to part ways, and then you both walk the same direction, and it just kind of gets kind of weird, where you're both like, oh, hey, I didn't realize you walked 1 block away from me on that way. So it's just like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't think anyone intended for them to meet up the way they did or how they did. I think it just kind of happened.
Yep, definitely. And looking out here, they tried to stack Cap, get some Cap pressure, but Veggie playing the whole down, and then the rest of the team, like I said, they had control of that 3 line, and that's when you control both those angles, you can get resets for days, which is what happened here.
Yeah.
It was just overall, it was good stuff. Cannot really complain from either side. Rude Awakening playing a Batchat for a
What's
team
weird about
captain
that?
and a caller.
Yeah, well, that's quite normal when you have a majority Batchat lineup.
This is fair. Fair, but
now,
a lot of callers tend to, well, actually, thinking about it, that actually makes 2 callers playing tier 10s in this game, because Felix is the main caller for M60s, and he's been playing.
Maybe it's just a new era where that's just what you do. Or maybe going to those tier 8s and playing lower tier tanks is becoming less popular because of actually increased importance. Or, in that way. So, if we looked at the damage just a moment ago, notice those Kronwagens were the top damage dealers. And actually, Hako, unable to prove anything. I don't think we can say this is really Hako. He got caught out and just completely annihilated. Unfortunate for him. But Pompous and the S-Tank, I really have been maybe overdoing it, but I've set my expectations high for his performance, especially after we saw him, during quals and such, just performing rather well. He's gotten how many battles now in his pub matches in that tank?
Yeah, he already has like 300 battles, averaging like 4,000 damage, has it 3 marked.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that again in a second, because we actually have a quick replay from the other offline match.
Yeah, it's
Deja Vu versus 07.
Yeah, and this is actually what I'm being told is
3-3, so a very close game.
Yeah, I was hearing it was a comeback, and that hurts. Fosta getting lost out in the open to a crossfire, but looks like he was in a tier 8 tank. So
T49 coming out of Deja Vu. That's an interesting tier 8 pick.
That is a weird.
On this map of all maps.
I'd say so. It's curious. I don't know what you're going
go
for.
on to win this game, and it's 4-3 in favor of 07. Not the scoreline I saw coming, to be honest.
And look at those lineups. Nothing too crazy from there. I would have expected to see an S tank somewhere in this, but it looks like they're going for much older, more traditional lineups, and also a mouse.
A mouse at 07, just playing that anchor tank, and tap. My fantasy points getting chased down here, goes down.
Yeah, just like your dreams.
Yeah.
Just like your dreams. Up in smoke.
Yep, and My Little Putin has actually been he's taken over calling for Deja Vu this season.
That was one that surprised me. Yeah. My Little Putin is this young little blonde kid. He is just adorable. And the idea of him calling was, it's not that it's wrong, it's that usually
he has that younger kid look, but the other thing, though, is he is a man of not many words.
Yes.
He's also Ukrainian, if I believe, or Russian.
Yeah, and the not many words part is the thing that makes me think, why is he a caller? I'm used to him being kind of quiet, off to the side. He's not ornery or anything. He's just quiet.
And last season, I remember a couple times where the team would be talking in English, and then him and Maktep would have a conversation on the side in Russian, they'd just go off. And so it was just kind of a weird dynamic within the team, but if they're making it work, so...
Sometimes it's worth it, because when you can just kind of split off like that and speak Russian on the side for a moment, you can have a very non-distracting conversation. You can you can talk in a way where you're just talking to someone else. You don't have to worry about bringing something up or any kind of weird dynamics. Even you can talk over each other in Russian English.
And once again, top tier, tripling down on the Swedish tanks. 2 Kronwagens, 2 Batchats, a TVP, an S-tank, and a AX1390.
Bring it on. I'm down to see it.
M60s, an IS-4, Kronwagen, 2 Batchats, a 140, a Batchat tier 9, and going up to the M5355. We didn't see a whole lot of artillery last season. We saw it occasionally, especially Deja Vu brought the M40-43 a lot, and a few other games here or there. But so far, at least today, it's coming hard.
We're seeing an uptick in popularity of artillery pieces. I've noticed as well.
And I definitely, the biggest change that you have to think about what's changed between now and then, it's the Swedish tanks. And once again, it does make sense. Artillery is made to punish tanks that are sitting still and that are sitting back. It's a mechanic made to help soften up hard defenses. And when you have 3 tanks on their team that specialty is being defensive, then I think it's a good option. Like we talked about earlier, for those that weren't here, the Swedish tanks, or the Swedish tank doctrine, their tanks are made to be defensive. They're made to get some shots from pull downs, good solid positions, and then run away.
Yeah, set up, fire, leave.
Yep.
Set up in the next position, fire, leave. Now, in siege mode, what you're actually doing is you're saying, I'm staying here. When you're not in siege mode, you're saying, I'm going to fire and I'm going to leave. Right? That's the difference. So now we have the cap pressure coming out, IS-4, from, it looks like, is that Felix? Yes, it is. He's going to be holding on the backside of that hill. And the Kronwagens are going to be stacking up, getting ready to come on in and maybe deal some damage. But they are aware that Aquatic is very, very likely covering that position and will make top tier suffer for trying to stop or delay the cap as it currently is.
I do like this setup, though, from M60s. Look what they're doing. They have their artillery in the backfield. They have eyes up on the 3 line.
And you have Muriel, by the way, moving around right now to the west.
You have the 140 of Veggie sitting back there in the 140, and Felix on cap. And what they're doing is they're forcing the cap pressure. And I guarantee you that artillery is going to be sitting here looking at this corner right in front of Felix.
You want to find out?
Let's find out exactly.
Because I'll tell you. He is aiming currently at G1. No, he's not aiming there anymore. He's actually going to shift position, which is, by the way, if we see an attack from top tier at this moment, this is great for them because their artillery is in motion.
But unless he's spotted, they don't know that.
Yeah, but whether or not they know, it's great for them. This says that if top tier goes right now, they actually have a higher probability.
See, what he's doing, though, is he's shifting over towards that 1 line. He's trying to open up a better angle on these Kronwagens.
Actually, he's going to go back to G1. The angle on G1, by the way, is also better the further west you go.
I think he's more worried about F2, F3. Those Kronwagens are going to start working this, and they're going to come over, and he's going to be lined up. And Mr. Man's going to get caught out in the open. Some bounce shots coming out here. They are going to focus him out, and they may just push over. And Mr. Man's going to live to fight. Akako taking some damage.
Already gets a huge hit on the side right now, by the way, on Muriel on that bat chat, making himself worth it. At the same time, fight's going to keep going on. who is really in an advantageous position? Pompous, again, by the way, I need to note this. Pompous, again, is in a position where he's not a part of the fight. He's not able to support like he should be in the S-Tank. This is a positioning issue for top tier, and they're going to need to address this if they're going to keep using this tank.
Yep,
now, he is finally able to deal damage.
M60s are closing in here. The bats are pushing down that 4 line, trying to get around, but that S-Tank's up on top, and he's looking for shots, just not able to connect. Artillery getting a miss there, not really a deal a whole lot. M60s down on HP, well, actually about even on HP at this point.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal about the amount of health difference at this point.
One gun still alive, though, for top tier, and that could be the difference here. Meanwhile, Felix does get the kill on Rude Awakening, evened it out 6-6.
Yes, and now it looks like the S-Tank might be going up and over and joining the engagement, but a crucial kill onto Felix might mean that he's going to slow that down. And I think that S-Tank's going to need to reconsider his position, because as a tank destroyer, you don't want to have tanks at an angle where it's like you look to your right and there's one tank, you look to the left. You want to be all tanks one side. And so Pompous is going to be forced to back off for a moment in order to look for what he's going to try and get shots into some tank. Now, Aquatic is 4 against the 4 of top tier. 3K versus 3K. And give it just a moment. We're going to see this one probably clean itself up. Ex-Soldier taking damage. He has 58 hit points.
Yep, and not a whole lot of options left for M60s. They were in a good position, but just not able to clean it up. However, Marsh, not done with this fight yet. Does take out Bales. Pompous does move in. He has all the HP that's left, and now the trick for the rest of the top tier is getting them to shoot at the S-Tank and not the other tanks. He's going to come in here. He's going to set up in siege mode, but
not going to need it.
Kronwagen hold down is going to peek up and over, use that 12 degrees of gun depression, and drop that bat chat.
Yep, now it is Marsh. 166. Last tank alive, and it's just a moment and should be all over.
And Pompous finally cleans that up, and that's going to make it 3-1 in favor of top tier.
Yeah.
So it looked a little bit sketchy there for top tier, but they managed to pull it out.
Hey, gotta give it to them. It feels really strange watching top tier and Aquatic M60s, because the tempo and what they're going for is very much in a style that doesn't say I have a very clear strategy. It's very much a loose reactive, or maybe not reactive, but a very much loose improvisational style where you're just looking for at moments, or players are looking for what they think or assess to be the best play, and then the team seems to kind of go with that.
Yep, definitely. And we're going to be going on to a third map here in a moment, but M60s actually just called a timeout, so we'll have an extra minute to sit here and think about it. And now look at this, and at this point, M60s, they're trying to force top tier in, and the problem is they force them in, they make them commit, and they're just not able to really punish them. They're not able to get those picks on those tanks. And the Kronwagen coming around here, well, it doesn't have the greatest DPM. It has enough burst to take out Felix. He actually bounces a shot off of the Felix's back
2
armor.
Shots, it looks like. 2 shells. Although that is the IS-4, by the way, a tank which is well armored in a way that I'd say
it's very frustrating to play against.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah, it's you should know where to fire, right? And you think that the angle you're going to fire on his side is going to work, but it never does.
There are 2 tanks where that happens a lot. The IS-4 and the Object 263. The Object 263 is one of those tanks where it's very counterintuitive how you'd end up killing it. You think about, all right, you shoot at a lower plate, or you look for a little viewport and get a shot in there from the front. But really, it's just the gun mallet, because it's the flattest armor. The lower plate actually is pretty thick and can be hard to pen depending on the angles that you're shooting at it from.
Exactly, yeah.
It's the same thing here. There's a lot of things where you think, all right, lower plate, some little corners, maybe a hatch on the turret, but it can be very, very frustrating to fight against, especially in the hands of someone like Felix, or Photo Finish comes to mind. He played it a lot last season. Yeah. So, I think that's a tank that they can make work for him.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see how it goes, because we're going now to Ghost Town is going to be our next map. So Ghost Town. What do you expect out of top tier or Aquatic? I can't really say that I feel like Aquatic has much to excel with on Ghost Town next to some of the other maps that they could have been playing, as they're not currently going to play.
They played it very passively last season. At least M60s did. A lot of very big heavy tanks, E100s, some other stuff. We didn't see a whole lot of E100s last season, like I said, but the M60s was one of the teams that they brought at least a couple sometimes.
Do you think E100s might actually come back against some of the new S-Tank and Kronwagen?
I definitely think they're an option. The other thing, just because the DPM's lower, that when you see those Kronwagens, the thing you have to remember is the DPM's significantly lower, and
which means
it matches with the E100, so all of a sudden the E100 having the HP, it can work in your favor.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. Not a lot of people have been discussing how German tanks might fare against some of the new tanks that we're seeing.
Yeah, and the other tank to look at is the T-57. We saw that make a resurgence last season, especially on Ghost Town. It has the highest DPM of any of the Tier 10 heavy tanks, the complete opposite. Now, the frustrating thing about that is it's a little bit slow, and the main gold shell on it is a heat shell, which heat shells can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Now, they work great versus flat, unangled armor, but you do not want to be firing that into the sides of tanks.
Anyway, real quick, I have word. We have an offline update on the 07 match. Let's take a look at that real quick and get caught up on where they're at. Deja Vu 3-4, 07 in the lead, and we have good focus fire onto major issues. 07 losing a tank. Deja Vu
forcing that game to overtime.
I like this. Okay, so we have the first OT for the season. And that's going to be 07, oddly enough.
Oh, harmless. Trying to go for the ramp, but doesn't get it.
That's actually a rematch from our recent finals, isn't it?
Yes, it is, actually.
Yeah.
That was the fourth place match, and Deja Vu ended up winning it, I believe, 7-5.
Which was really an upset because they were the team that was, up until the finals, they were ranked actually quite a bit lower. They barely made it into playoffs, and then they snuck by, right?
Well, that was 07.
That was you're right. I'm sorry.
Deja Vu, the start of last season.
Wow.
They started off hot last season, then they kind of dropped off.
But
they kept their third seed, and they got in there, and then they showed up versus Apex. And Apex ran over Deja Vu.
Yeah, I got that one.
They ran them over into the ground.
Well, that's pretty normal for Apex Eclipse at a finals. They're not going to hold back. So, but here online, like, you're actually going to see some of that trickiness where people might actually hold on to a strat. Except not at the beginning of a season. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought that. Because, like, right now, everyone's just trying to get used to what's going on. A bunch of new tanks, new scenarios, weird things happen, just trying to get your feet squared.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're ready for our third map of this matchup.
Ghost Town. The first absolutely symmetrical map, made especially for 7 versus 7 games. The teams start the battle on opposite sides. There are numerous ways to attack here. One of the bases is located in the central square, the other one at the top of the city. The hardest battles are usually fought for the top base, and this calls for the use of heavy tanks. Sometimes the teams choose fast tanks for spotting and base capturing.
That's what I was trying to point out. And coming in here with the lineups, top tier, 250Bs, an i7, 2 Batchats, a T10, and a WZ111. Meanwhile, M60 is a 215B, 2 T57s, an i7, a Batchat, and 2 Tier 9 Bats. So a very mobile lineup coming out of M60s in terms of the Batchats. But they are bringing those 2 T57s, which, like I said, are a bit slower.
And these opening moves are very atypical for both teams. Batchat moving out. Mural could get some crucial spotting. He also could get caught out, depending on how Mr. Man Bales and Marsh move. But they are going to hold up, saying, wait a sec, this doesn't look good. A Batchat scout that far, to the southeast this early in the game, that says there's something up. T57 and Veggie deciding not to move any further forward. Shots fired, a little bit of a trade. And I'm expecting to see the 50Bs from top tier moving around to the west. Good spotting, though, from Marsh is going to give all of that away, and Aquatic is going to have all the information that they need in order to react and assess the situation, come up with a new strategy, a new approach. Because if they go straight into top tier's positions, I don't think that's going to pan out for them.
I do like the decision-making there out of those T57s. They realize this I7's hold down, and so they just choose not to take that fight. But Marsh, somewhere else in the fight, down in the south, getting lit up and losing a lot of his HP, and he's going to poke up and misses his shot there onto that T57.
Yeah, I don't... Oh, Aquatic's actually going to decide to go for a fight. They're moving forward onto Oghako in the IS-7. They were going to leave him in hold down, but it looks like they're going to say, no, we're going to go take this tank out. We realize he's actually exposed. Notice the cover and the support from top tier isn't quite there immediately, and so they're able to deal quite a bit of damage without taking more than even an... Oh, now it's going to go over 1,000. Veggie has stayed for too long.
They haven't taken out a Hako. You cannot commit that much HP and not kill a tank.
That is a blunder which you will not come back from. They
Too
needed
many
that
bounce
kill.
shots. We talked about the heat shells being frustrating, and that's exactly why right there.
And that's
Feel My Potato and Dark Ninja pushing around, trying to finish off Akako, and they finally do. M60s in the driver's seat right now. Up 3 tanks to 1. Bale's getting lit up, though. Losing a lot of his HP. Pompous trying to do what he can.
Oh, and a bounce that he did not need. Although Rude's able to get the shot in there. So now you've got 4,000 hit points versus 4,800 in favor of Aquatic. They have the high ground. They have all of the position. Top tier has 3 tanks left alive, and chances are they're not going to be able to come back from this unless you see something absurd,
Yep,
just
and actually,
foolish.
everyone's going to disengage right now. Top tier is going to leave this area because they know that they're on a reload. Feel My Potato looking for a shot, decides not to take it. One thing to keep in mind while watching Feel My Potato's POV right now is he's playing from Ukraine. He's going to have a couple hundred ping to deal with, so he has to make sure he takes that extra second to make sure that the server catches up and his shots connect.
That is a really important point to make because it makes all of the difference if you're able to play around the lag or not.
Puts a shot into the building there. That's exactly why he's a great player, but some things you can't help.
Yeah, some things you just very hard to account for, but you know what? Best players always end up doing it in the end. They always find a way of dealing with the situation. So,
yep. And I've actually heard of players playing online with an insane amount of ping and getting used to it, and then when they show up to a live event where all of a sudden they're playing with no ping at all,
yeah, I used to have to
no
deal
latency,
with that.
it just becomes like a whole different game to them.
Yeah, actually, I used to play on a really poor computer myself, and actually, I was playing at like 15 frames, and it was not good 15 frames. And when it came to playing in a live environment, when I sat down at like a 60 FPS monitor and it was beautiful and everything, but I actually was so not used to it. I didn't realize that turning on certain settings like smoke or decals, would actually really mess with my head.
Yep, there are some. Speaking of like graphics, there are a few players that have links to how they have their settings set up, so you can actually use
Where do you find
the
those?
same settings. They appear in a variety of places, the forums, Reddit.
Yeah, you have to browse through there sometimes.
Yeah,
a
but
little
you can
hunting.
find them. I know Akula has his up there. I know Vetro has one out there, and you can see exactly the settings they use, and you can emulate exactly how they're playing.
Yeah, because as you'll notice, like we don't turn grass on here because if you want to have a beautiful gameplay experience, the grass is great. But whenever you're like in sniper mode, for example, grass can start to really mess with you because you can't see quite how the terrain bends and around, and that can throw you off sometimes.
Yep, absolutely. And the cap here. Is anyone even in position to get the reset? 5 seconds.
Muriel might be able to get there in time. Is he the hero that we need?
1
he
second.
is.
He gets it.
And he actually dodges the first shell.
Pompous is going to come in here and Feel My Potato's looking the other way. He fires. He rolls for 400. But Pompous is going to be able to finish him off.
Oh, wait. Hey, actually, whoa. 818. Top tier has a chance. 3 hit points. Yeah, I know. Cap. Yeah, I get it. But they might get off the cap. If they don't,
they're not going to chase. They're going to know that he's probably reloading, and they know he's in the south, so they're going to get to cover.
That's a good call. I thought for a moment I saw them rolling off the cap, but
if they had lost all cap pressure, then I would have said bailed. But in this point, they had half of the cap, so
he's going to have enough time to get 1 shell. Pompous actually can do this. He just has
reloading.
He has to reload, and in the moment he reloads, he has to fire and he has to connect.
He has to find the shot. I don't know what he's going to.
Oh, is it? He does.
Oh, is he going to do this?
Oh my gosh! Oh, and that's a miss. 1 more shell right over him. So that's 2. That's 2 from Dark Ninja. He has 2 left, and he's going to move in. Pompous, understanding what to do, is going to back off. And okay, this is important. Dark's going to go on the high ground.
Definition of 3 HP and a dream. Can Dark do it? He comes around.
Oh, it's a miss. He's got 1 more. He just has to make 1 connection. That's it. Dark cannot get too aggressive. He cannot go over the edge. He can't. Is he going to Goomba? No. He's not going for it.
No,
he doesn't connect.
He doesn't have the shot. Are they both reloading? Was he counting?
Dark Ninja is reloading. He does not know.
Oh.
And that's it. Pompous is going to clutch
3
it.
3 HP in a dream? What is this?
What? That's what I was... Oh, my God. That is so satisfying. Pompous, you're my hero. I'm so glad I put him on my fantasy team right now. Look at that. 5,829 damage, people. I'm looking at the post-game stats. We'll have those up for you in a second. 5,829. 4 kills. He fires 20 shells fired, 18 direct hits, 16 penetrations. That's about as good as I can hope for in a bat chat. Pompous is the MVP for the night. That's it. That's right there. That's an MVP play for the night. That is amazing. Dark could have had it too when he was coming off the edge.
And look at this right here. This is what I was talking about. They don't kill like Hako. That's 2 T-57s emptying their clips, and then look at this. Veggie gets tracked in the open, and he gets annihilated. Now, M60s still recover from this. They still turn around and they punish. They get a Hako down in a second, but that right there could have cost them that's time that they needed to get those guns out, and that's time where the rest of the tanks from top tier get into this fight.
And here's something to know. I think we can characterize top tier's reactions and their behavior in this battle as calm, cool, and collected. Because there's no way you make it to the end of that battle and you are pompous. And if you are not calm, cool, and collected right here, if you are not chill, if you are not ice cold, you're going to lose it. Look at that. He gets it perfect right into the turret. He could have easily bounced that. Now, Dark has 2 choices. Forward and stay on the high ground, or try this, which is so risky. And he misses it, which is, by the way, all credit to Pompous. He knew exactly what to do. He understood the angle that was going to work for him, and then he played it cool. You're my hero, Pompous. 5,829 damage.
I gotta say,
that's good stuff.
Hats off to Pompous for that game. That was impressive.
Wow.
Okay. Now we have to look. We can't get along here without saying, M60s, 4 tanks alive.
Yep.
They were in a good position to win that. Where did they go wrong? Where did they let top tier into that fight?
You remember when I was talking about them getting off cap?
Yep.
I think that was the moment, right then. When it was 2 versus 1, Pompous was reloading. They didn't chase. And by not chasing and staying on cap, there are 4 entrances to the cap, correct?
Correct.
Northeast, southwest, right? Just like the cardinal
More
directions.
or less,
Yeah. And with 2 tanks alive, how many directions can you aim? You can aim in 2 directions, right? You can choose 2 angles to cover. Now, if you're really clever, you can find angles on the cap to make it so it's more effective for you to turn from north to west, north to east, east to south, and west to south, for example. Just to kind of give you an example, like it's easier if I'm facing 2 doors that are kind of like that, one after the other, as opposed to turning to my left and my right.
The other thing
correct?
I wasn't a fan of is when they stayed on cap. I agree.
Yeah.
But when they stayed on cap, they knew that they saw the bat shot when he was last lit in the south, and they saw him driving south.
Yeah.
And then they were both looking south. They figured that was the direction where he was going to come from. They assumed. But then they sat in a position where they had no cover from the south. If you think they're going to come from the south, why not hide from it? Because that was clearly what they were thinking.
It seemed like they were still deciding to do that. Like they'd actually just thought for a moment, he's coming around to the north, and it seemed like they might have changed their mind somewhere in there. Because you can see that cap, it's a scary situation, and you can lose.
When you have a lot of different angles, you have to find ways to take angles out of the fight, which means put your back to one and look at the other. That's how I think that should have been played differently. But I digress. It's 4-1 in favor of top tier. Top tier making their Gold League debut, doing great so far.
I'm loving it. I love this play. Pompous has shown that he's got it under control, and you're seeing solid play from top tier, even when it doesn't look so good. Look at these lineups, though. E100s are making it back.
E100s, I said M60s brought them last season. We're seeing them again. 250Bs, 215B, and 2 Tier 9 bats. Meanwhile, top tier, an IS-7, 250Bs, 2 bat chats, WZ-111 Model 4, and Rude Awakening opting for the T10 instead. Pretty much just a user preference between those two, really.
Yeah, that was an impressive last battle. I'm still feeling that one. So, actually, I want to bring that one up. Aquatic, you just lost in a clutch. Your opponent just did something that was honestly
and it's already
impressive.
4-1. You're on the ropes. To turn around from that point right now, you're going to have to dig deep.
Real deep. And it's going to have to take top tier getting off.
Now, the other thing to worry about
here, no, Pompous is going actually into a crossfire. So right in the open, this could be what you're talking about.
Well, this is what I worry about, is overconfidence just the same if you flip that coin to the other end. And Pompous pushing in here, thinking he's Superman, trying to get the kills, finds 2 Tier 9 bats, and they should be able to clip him out. They just need to hide Marsh, make sure they can't get the pick on him. But there's no reason they should lose this.
They shouldn't, but...
This fight in particular, not the game as a whole, but
fair
they
point.
get it down.
Yeah, so that's a lost tank. Now you have 2 tanks in the southwest. Aquatic has an automatic flank. No matter where top tier goes, they're going to have to watch their backs because 2 very light, very fast tanks could be right behind them in a moment.
And Felix actually pokes up to get a shot on the heavy tank and gets dropped down to 32 HP. But one thing you always have to remember that people overlook is they always see a tank low HP, no big deal. Pompous just showed us what you can do with 3 HP. People, that's another thing that we didn't really even talk about from that last clutch. 3 HP.
Yep.
3.
A strong breeze. Someone sneezes at the wrong time.
He kind of wobbles his tank off a rock or something, comes down a little bit too hard, he's dead.
That would actually, I could believe that happening. Someone wobbling onto a wreck and then taking a dot. Yeah.
Dark Ninja almost pulling off a strike, or a apple wow, excuse me, from the Champions Rumble.
Oh.
For those that didn't see it, you can find it on my Twitter page. I linked it a little while ago.
He did that.
On Ghost Town, he tried to go over on the side there, and he was actually in a 113 and got his tank stuck for the second time at a major event.
Yeah, incredible player, but unfortunately famous for flipping his tanks.
And getting stuck.
But we do have a listen-in on top tier. I want to see how they feel, what they're feeling like right now. Let's take a listen.
That AP's up.
There's bad AP. See if we can do some damage to him.
They don't have anything on the B line.
All right, Miro,
least
start
nothing
working
poking.
the B line really slowly, super carefully, okay?
Only two things that could be there are the FP or the 100. Since the 50Bs can't leave without me and Hawk spawning them.
Yeah, I'm not spotting anything north.
How low are those bad APs?
One's 800, the other one's 32 health.
Okay, Miro, I need you to... Never mind. Miro, drop off. Actually, Miro, can you get any shots on them?
I didn't get spotted. I did not.
Can you just do one shot and just like back off or something, make them think that you're there?
Oh, my lights flickered.
Are you doing damage?
Yeah. They're not spotting me though. I'm clipping.
Okay, it's fine.
I got lit.
You got lit, just back off,
All right, I really liked seeing that play from Miral. What Rude was talking about was Miral in a bat chat is playing a very scout role right now for top tier, and they Rude from top tier recognized that there were some low bat chat APs, and then in a moment, while Rude was in the middle of making a call, he had to actually switch it up. So really strong calling right there from top tier. Great things to see, things to watch out for, something to learn from and study. And now we actually have an attack coming out. Looks like Dark Ninja's closing the distance and taking damage. Felix moving in is very low bat. And Zitz is getting torn apart. He's completely done at this point. And that's going to be a tank down. Top tier actually is down 2 tanks for no losses yet so far this battle. This could be a comeback for Aquatic if they can carry it through.
I'm looking at it right now. Feel My Potato is going to end Agako in that IS-7. HP still in favor of M60s. And looking at it right now, another shot going onto Lucretia Siga. And they're pushing around right now. Feel My Potato taking another shot there. They do put a shot into Fixer. Now this is what we were talking about. Mr. Man needs to make a shot here. They have terrible DPM, but as long as he makes this shot count, that's just 1,500 HP just delivered onto the field and a tank deleted right there. DPM doesn't matter when you can just strike someone down with the first shot.
Exactly. So now this is going to be all clean up.
Now this is a situation that's too familiar though for top tier, down on tanks and HP, but so are M60s, but this time they have enough. They don't make the same mistakes, and Dark Ninja actually ends up shooting Felix there. A little bit of a friendly shot in the back.
I think they were saying, you shouldn't have lived through this. 32 hit points. You got to be kidding me. So that's going to extend the series. Aquatic actually has
not out of this yet. Now we said they had to dig deep, but that means they got 2 more rounds to go. And the last map is going to be Himmelsdorf, which looking at it was going to be M60s.
Yeah, it's going to be Aquatic M60s defending to start on Himmelsdorf.
Yep, and Himmelsdorf was M60's pick.
Oh, yeah. Actually, well, kind of a pick. Yeah. Sorry to maybe...
well, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the last map picked in a series is more like automatically because we ban 4 maps and then we pick maps. So because the pool is 8 maps, you ban 4. If you pick 3, 1 map remains by default, right? I'm sorry if it seems like I'm maybe getting a little bit too much into it for the explanation, but like, yeah, it's one of those things where you don't quite pick it.
Yeah, definitely. So I get what you're saying, but just the same, that was top tier saying that they feel more comfortable on Ghost Town. I guess you could assume that a little bit. It was their pick. Maybe they're more comfortable with Himmelsdorf being last. So
yeah, aquatic picked Ghost Town.
Once again, if we get to Rude in the winners face-off, we can ask him about that. I don't know how much Pompous will know about the map picking process, but we can see if we can get
something.
Rude Awakening to come in. And meanwhile, looking at it, Feel My Potato coming up here with 2,900 damage. Mr. Man's second on their team, so both the E100s putting out a good amount of damage. Once again, E100s, terrible DPM, but high alpha, and so when they work in pairs or threes, they can push around, fire 2 shots. You know, that's all of a sudden 1,500 or 2,100 just dumped onto the field, and that can be a full tank deleted. So as long as you work together as a team, E100s can be effective. It's when they're off separate by themselves where they're significantly weaker.
When they're not able to leverage their advantages, which are huge health pool, huge alpha, and that's it. So if you run into 2 E100s, that's twice as scary as 1. And because they hurt so much, if you're not at full health, there's a chance that you're not going to walk away from that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and great stuff there out of M60s for not giving up yet, especially after that game, that Pompous clutch still.
That would have thrown most teams off.
Yeah.
Honestly, a clutch like that, usually what's going to happen is most of the team's going to be so demoralized that no matter how much you hope, it's not really going to happen.
Yep. Well, we'll have to see if M60s can keep digging deeper as we go into our 4th map of this last battle.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
So apparently the E100's alpha was not enough for top tier, deciding to bring a 4005 stage 2 and an E3, so bringing the heavy hitters, but also bringing another E100, an IS-4, an IS-7, a Kronwagen, and a AMX-CDC while attacking. An interesting pick there.
We'll have to get into that one in just a minute.
Yeah, I think I have a good idea where that's going to go, but we'll come back to that in a second. Meanwhile, M60s coming in with a 113, an IS-7, 350Bs, a Batchat, and an AMX 1390. Marsh, once again, playing at 1390, coming in, taking over as the scout player for...
And please take a look back at top tier for a moment, sir, if you wouldn't mind.
Top tier?
Yeah, take a look at the top tier tanks. I'm going to be following Marsh's scout run, but that is a lot of heavy tanks.
That is a lot of green.
That is a lot of green. This is going to be the camo to expect from top tier. They designed it themselves. It's beautiful. But this is what you're going to see.
Big
from them
arrows
the entire
pointing
season.
up.
Oh yeah, it's a very visible camo.
The thing about the CDC, yeah, and we'll get into this, and I actually have a funny story about this, and I've told it before, but I'll say it again for those that didn't hear it last time.
Yeah.
So CDC, tier 8 premium tank, guns underwhelming. It's kind of just a meh tank, but the one thing about it is its shape. It's a great tank to put hold downs on, IS-4s or IS-7s, for example, or even an E3. An E3 is tall enough to shoot over it.
Over the back, right? Not the turret.
Any part of the hull. So if you turn the turret, you can manipulate where you put the turret, whether it's looking forward or backwards to the side of which parts you're going to shoot over.
And you can also use the gun to actually protect crucial weak points on that E3 if you place it correctly. We'll have to see if it does.
So, well, now here's the funny story. Is this started back on the Russian server, and they started doing this on Ruinberg. They used it as a shield on cap, put a tank behind it.
Yeah, because you can't reset cap.
Well,
there's a dead tank in the way.
The first time they tried to do it, I can't remember exactly which team it was, but they tried to do it. And he moved to cap, or he tried to move to cap, but he took a shell on his way there, and he got ammo racked. Because this tank carries like 80 shells. It carries a lot of ammo.
It has a relatively delicate ammo rack, one could say.
And they tried to volley on the cross, but no one there to receive it, hoping to catch out, say, the 4005 or something, or any of the 50Bs anyways, from 60s. Yeah. But anyways, so what they ended up doing the next time, this is where the story gets funny. That in itself is amusing, but it's not funny. What's funny is what happens is the next time they do it, they decide, all right, well, we just won't bring any ammo in it, because if you don't have ammo, you can't get ammo racked. So then what happens is the team just ignores the CDC that they're playing. They don't kill it, and he's one of the last 2 tanks alive, and he can't do anything because he didn't bring any ammo.
Oh my goodness. I remember this story. It's always funny, because it's just the greatest irony in all World of Tanks.
Who needs ammo?
It's honestly, I have to respect the play, just the... It's just always fun.
For those that aren't familiar with tanks and what happens when you get ammo racked, Ammo racked is what happens when something hits one of the shells to the inside of your tank ready to be fired, and they explode. What happens is when there's an explosion, there's a lot of pressure all of a sudden. It has to go somewhere. And the easiest weak point it normally finds is to just pop the turret straight off. And so that's what happens when a tank gets completely ammo racked.
Exactly.
Now, you can get lucky and have your ammo damaged, where you just take longer to reload because it explodes inside the holder. It becomes harder to get the shells, is the theory, and so forth.
I think actually it's like if it gets damaged, it's more like stuff got hit, shells are everywhere, it's all disorganized, everything's a mess, but nothing blew up.
Yeah.
Because if something blew up, you would have blown up.
Or, well, you have a minor detonation, or the shell gets in there and knocks shells loose.
We now have proof right here. Here's the example of the CDC in action.
Exactly. And look where they placed it. They placed it with the gun facing the wall. So he wasn't even trying to shoot Felix in this I-7. He's just there, so the I-7 now is completely hold down, and it's going to be up to AM60s to respawn to push in here. And their best play is to get in behind, which is what they're doing. They're trying to get to that 8 line, but they have to cross past a bunch of these huge tank destroyers, including Pompous Magus right here, who's actually looking towards the hill to help out with the bat shot.
Yep. And
this is another great play right here. Is if you look at it,
and a reset on Oghako because he actually got greedy.
He was sticking out.
Yeah, he got greedy. Look at this. He just decided to stick out and expose himself where he had this beautiful cover behind the CDC.
Pop
like we were
is
talking
trying
about.
to hold that angle. But look at X-Soldier up on top of the hill as well. He's playing that, using those 12 degrees of gun depression to hold off the Batchat and the 50B up there.
Now look at the positions of our red team aquatic
here
in
it comes.
60s.
Pompous gets the shot, 646. Hesh shell, that's the benefit to the Hesh shells, is they always do damage, is the saying. Hesh or HE, at least you always do damage, ha. But in this case, 600's nothing to laugh at.
Exactly. Now, the positions from aquatic AM60s is surrounding currently where top tier is. What do you do when you are surrounded, sir?
You pick a direction and you go.
Exactly. That is the answer. So, I think both teams know where they are. The delicate part about this is that if you choose a direction to go, look at your lineup. Top tier does not have
don't have a lineup where you can get out of a situation. You have some U100s, you have a 4005 with no armor. Pomp is just looking for some shots here. And
also,
actually,
Felix,
Ninja might have been able to put a shot onto him here.
I don't think he was quite. Although
Felix could also put a shot onto him right now.
Felix has been having a rough time against Hako. Hako's really been outplaying him right now as far as... is he going to... No, he's not going to try and shoot between the guns.
That would have been crazy.
That would have been a little risky, actually. Couldn't you risk hitting
I don't even want to call that risky. I want to call that crazy.
Okay, crazy is accurate. Foolish, maybe. Although here we have the attack. Bales, Veggie, 50Bs moving straight up in.
And this is forcing AM60's hand, and they're actually going to push straight into this IS-4. They know they have to get the reset. And this 4005 is sitting here staring at him, hoping that one of them peaks some of these 50Bs. They're easy to pen. The cap has 15 seconds left on it, though. They need to find the reset. And Hako's just going to push Felix. He can't kill him, so that's going to be a reset. And another 700 damage goes off.
Not a reset yet. He's not reset yet.
This Felix?
This
cap reset?
No, that was a bounce. It was okay. There's it. Okay,
and they barely get it. The exclamation point had not gone up on that cap.
That was
the last second, but the damage is done. Now the tanks are still alive in favor of AM60s. They have one extra gun, but Bales has all the HP, and Pompous is staring at him. Pompous could end this fight effectively. If he can find a shot onto Bales right now and end this, he can...
Felix bounces. Oghako bounces in a 1v1.
There's looking for it. The 1v1's going on back and forth.
Oh, and Dark Ninja. Dark Ninja's on the way in.
Oh, and Pompous deletes Feel My Potato, but now Bales has the HP to push around. Great teamwork there. The definition of taking one for the team, he's going to push out. He's going to find Felix, or find Pompous.
And this is back and forth. Honestly, I'm not going to call it. This could go either way. Look, Kurashisiega is taken down from a huge number of hit points to dead. T110E3.
3v2, but Merle Sheikta's the one alive with all the HP outside of Akako. He does get the kill. And now an E3 and an IS-7 are all that's left. However, AM60s are the team defending right now, and they're choosing to hold just that A0 pocket right there. They're not even going to cross, not get spotted. Merle Sheikta's backing out, has his armor pointed towards everyone, because
you have
to in that E3. If he gets caught with his back towards them, he's dead.
Yeah.
But he's so slow backing up in reverse.
Yeah. Although you will see Oghako now returning to cap, I believe. And if we kind of follow him and his path along, I'm wondering, should he...
The timing on this, Merle's just turning around because he knows it's going to take too long. If one of these 50Bs peaks right now, that could be him dead. This is so risky that he needs to get to cap safely to have a chance.
But that's all up to whether Dark Ninja and Bales are going to decide.
And now they know both tanks are on cap, so now this is where they'll make the play. They didn't have a reason to think both tanks were in a position where they could hit him. Bales is going to commit here.
And
here's the other thing to look at math-wise. In their clips right now, if they're both full, these 50Bs have 3,200 alpha in their clips. If they miss one shell, they cannot kill them right now.
Yep.
And now the CDC is working for them in a different direction, not the way they intended, but Merles is going to play the hole down there. And now they're going to push around. Bales is just going to try to pump shots out onto him. Oh, they're going to ignore the E3. They're going to go for the I7. He bounces one.
That's a smart play. You got to give it to him. That's a smart play.
And
That's
now
how they're going to
get one of them out there, and they get the track shot.
And the second follow-up track shot.
This is all they need. He cannot cap now. They just need to run away to their different areas. This E3 cannot chase down these 250Bs if they go to different parts of the map. This is over. This is AM60s closing out this game. This is a great play from an experienced team showing exactly how to do it.
Exactly. You got to give them credit. For a moment, I thought it was over. I thought this was going to be done, right?
These games are on a knife's edge.
It's unbelievable.
Pompous with that insane clutch. These 50Bs, they even misplayed that. They missed shots they needed to afford, but they did the smart thing. They took down that IS-7. They got the gun out of the fight. And this E3 just not able to do enough by himself. He's not going to be able to chase them. And they know it. Look, they're on the other side of the map already. They're out. Look, peace. We're gone.
Yeah, it's just...
They're not going to risk anything. They're just going to let the time run out.
Yeah, a minute left. Mural's just going to go for the cap. Nothing. Just sit around, wait for it. It's waiting 50 seconds to see what happens. I think if he could wave a white flag, he'd be doing that right about now.
Just putting his gun up in the air. Knows that these 50Bs, realistically, he doesn't even know where these 50Bs could be. They could pop out from any angle, and he's just sitting in the middle of this courtyard, just completely exposed.
I have seen battles that have gone that way, where you happenstance run into a team trying to just hide from you, and they thought they would be clever, and like you'd go search in one part of the map, but you actually just hadn't made it there yet, and so when they're trying to leave, they just walk in front of your guns. That's happened a few times. I don't think it's going to happen here, though.
Yeah, the 50B is very smartly deciding to hide on the backside of that hill, hoping that E3 didn't go over on top of the hill. I don't think he could have gotten there by now, even with the minute he had. So
these guys could put so much. Is he firing? He's firing HE. Okay, this is classic.
I wonder if he plays artillery in his spare time.
I think everybody knows this trick. He's practiced in training rooms. When you don't have an observer tank, back before they added it, I loved seeing. We used to get Bisons or other tanks and just fire HE into the wall and splash ourselves to death.
Well, they still do it because with the spectator mode, when teams are scrimming, just a little bit tidbit.
Oh,
when teams are scrimming, the spectator mode can see both teams, and the other team doesn't want them to know their strat or doesn't want them tipping them off, which is a dumb thing to do anyways if you're trying to practice. You don't want to have an advantage that you wouldn't have in a match, but that's a whole different point. Yeah. So teams still have to either use T1s and have their teammates kill them, or they use Bisons or other artillery pieces and kill themselves very early in the game. And that's just so a person can watch without affecting anything. But looking at the damage here, Bale's putting up some good damage for M60s. Looking at this game here, Felix, this fight going on back and forth, and they both actually ignore each other. They're just trying to get shells into the fight.
Gotta focus fire. Gotta join everybody for the fight. Can't let any shells be wasted. Now this was a game changer. Mural had a shell that he could have connected during that brawl that you were watching on the north side, and he bounced the shell that could have saved the game. He would have killed Dark Ninja then, and he wouldn't have been a problem later on. He wouldn't have dealt more damage. He wouldn't have been able to help out top tier, would have been able to win. But because of one little bounce, the entire course of the battle was altered in that. Now,
definitely,
you have to give some credit to the IS-7s. I think both played very, very well. I think Hako showed that he was just on top of his game, plays an excellent IS-7 in this battle, bounces numerous shells.
And this is the big thing right here. They made sure that they got around, even with that bounce there that Bales really should have made. Gets that one, and then Dark Ninja comes around. But then look at Dark Ninja. As he runs, snaps the shot off into the drive wheel and leaves Merles with nowhere to go, and then gets another one in there to just damage it even further. And Dark Ninja coming up there at 3,500, Bales at 3,000. X-Soldier, who I was told wasn't even going to be playing tonight, putting up 2,800 damage. He's such a versatile player, I think, is a good thing to describe X-Soldier. He can do a lot of things.
Yeah, you can pretty much just tell him what to do. He's going to do it. He's a good kid. I like him.
Yeah, no, very, very solid. And he was, you got to remember, he's a player that comes from Apex. He played with Noble and Apex for a while. He's played with the top players.
I don't know how
Well, I would go as far as to say he is a top player himself.
Well, think about it. He's one of those guys that jumps around in rosters.
Yep.
He's been on almost every top team there is, right?
Yep.
At least at one point, or at least played with them or done a little side tournament. He's just flexible like that.
Yep.
Put him in a tank, tell him what to do, he's going to go do it.
Yep. He's one of those players that, sometimes won't necessarily be that standout player, but he does those things that you need to do to win games, to put yourselves in positions for those other players to get off those large amounts of damage, to make it so those 4005s, those grills, can be effective. You have to have players that play every single role in a team.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes if you're a heavy player, when you put yourself in it, when you throw a player into a medium tank, one consideration you can have is, well, you may not be the best medium player, but you know heavies so well that on Himmelsdorf, for example, me putting you in a bat chat means you're going to have a better understanding of how to utilize that bat chat than one of my other...
When we were talking with Rude, off here, when we were talking with Rude, he said the way he set up this team was to put the players that are strongest in their individual rules into their tanks. And so he knew he had, a wide variety of roles he had to fill. He needed autoloader players to play 50Bs. He needed tank destroyer players that could play the big tank destroyers, and heavy tank players. Well, I'll finish that thought in a second. Let's look at the lineups. Top tier, 250Bs, an E100, an IS-4, a bat chat, a grill, and a 1390. Then you have AM60s coming in at 113, 250Bs, an IS-7, a bat chat of their own, a grill of their own, and a 1390 of their own. So very similar lineups.
Yeah, almost just changing out some parts that are really just personal taste.
Yep.
But effectively, these teams should perform about on the same level.
And you speak of personal taste. That's something that comes to mind when you say top tier. What
are you talking about their camo?
Well, there's that. Because good-looking camo.
Because
don't get me wrong.
Look at that. Look at that. That's some camo right there, ladies.
So,
all right, sorry,
but my point, anyways, is when we were talking to Rude, something he said was, I picked the best players I could to play each of their respective roles. So Pompous has been known as a great tank destroyer player, so he has him, and we've seen Pompous play almost nothing but tank destroyers tonight, except for Ghost Town, where he played the bat chat, and he showed that he's not just a tank destroyer player. But I digress. But then you have your heavy tank players, like Hako and Fixer Reloaded. They're great heavy tank players. Then you have players that can play your autoloaders, Delph, X-Soldier, and a few others on the team. Sublime Banana, Jojo Jackie, they're all players that can step in and play in those roles. And that's just how this team is set up.
All right, so they're really not going to be changing things up in a weird way like that. I see where you're going there.
Yeah. And that also makes it easy for fantasy because, who's going to be putting out a lot of damage? The players that are going to put out the most damage typically are going to be your autoloaders and your tank destroyers. Those are the ones that have the most damage potential.
Especially those 50Bs.
Yep. But the thing is you don't want a team of nothing but tank destroyers because you don't have any armor, you don't have any pushing power. You don't have anything that's going to bounce. So you have to have players that can play those heavy tanks and play them well. And that's my point here is, there are players like X-Soldier that have to play those key positions even if they're not the ones doing damage.
We missed it for a second. It was cute. X-Soldier and Delph were playing with each other's guns because they were just waiting. They know it's going to be a minute before they do anything. Just look at the dancing. Dancing Queen.
Get some music going in here.
Yeah, I'm just these guys are rocking right now. Can we get
these two at a club? Got to be fun.
I think he's saying yes. I think that's what yes looks like in a tank.
Either that or Delph's just out of breath.
He's tired. All right.
Meanwhile, Dark Ninja trying to get some intel, backing out from the south, coming up towards the hill along with the 50Bs.
All right, IS-7 though moving up. Notice that. Felix. He's
getting the intel. IS-7 scout, best scout at NA.
Russian tanks and scouts. Russian tanks have the worst view range of anything.
Yeah, but they also have the best armor, so you can just drive at someone, and you're most likely going to bounce the first shot that comes at you, and then you can get to cover. That's the idea. But and Hako in the IS-4 snaps a shot off and misses.
Felix is just too quick for him, man.
And this could be disaster. Almost well. The initial would be disastrous, but if they realize how many tanks are out of position, this could be great for M60s as they make this push up the 8 line. But the grill and the bat chat are out of position.
Actually, that was not bad. X-Soldier's able to trade with Marsh in the 1390, takes a shell of his own, and they're able to back off a little bit. Now, note, that's Tank Destroyer, Mr. Man on the high ground, followed by Dark Ninja in the bat chat. And look at the engagement position from Aquatic. They're far enough south that they can kind of pull top tier further south so that this flank from Dark Ninja and Mr. Man, which is currently to the northeast, you'll see on the mini-map, and then you'll see in a moment, they're allowed to flank much easier because the engagement has not been made so far north. Now, Marsh is going to go down in the 1390, obviously a sacrificial tank, so that they can begin their engagement. And
Dark Ninja in the bat chat is actually going to come in here, but he's going to find Fixer Reloaded, so he's going to back off. He's going to go for a track shot, actually misses it.
That's not good for him. He does not need to be up against an E100.
And this is looking bad. M60's almost completed the comeback, but they have their work cut out for them. They need to put out about 3,000 damage right now. Now, they have a lot of autoloaders, so it's not out of the question, but they have 2 extra guns alive. They just need to hurry up and take some more guns out to have a chance, because the HP is not in their favor.
No, it definitely is not. 7,000 versus 4,000. Top tier should be able to win this one, unless Aquatic's able to do just something amazing. So as it stands, lead goes to top tier right now. They should be able to finish it, but Aquatic's all grouped up. They're all together.
They're all their HP tanks are going to go after Merle, Sheikah, and the back chat, and then I have 4 who are isolated off by themselves.
They're going to lose Veggie for it, though, and Feel My Potato is now completely alone. One more shell's going to take him down, and Rude goes for the shot.
And I'm seeing flashbacks from last game. M60s just showing how to close out games. However, they do get Feel My Potato. Extra gun is alive for top tier. M60s doing what they can to claw back into this. But I don't know they have it. Dark Ninja is still reloading. He has 15 seconds left on his clip.
Yeah, that's the dicey part. Also,
and he only has 600 HP, and Mr. Man's coming for him.
Mr. Man is kind of messed up.
Cue Jaws music. Oh, and he barely gets out of there.
Oh, it was Pompous.
Yep.
Mr. Man's kind of the messed up little grill over here.
Yep, that's Pompous. Now, the thing is Pompous, though, has 1,000, so he can take a hit or two.
Yeah, Pompous is fine. He's doing okay. But Mr. Man and his grill is crawling. He is in pain. He is not a happy grill.
And
Bales.
Bales missing the shot.
Shouldn't be able to take on much. And I'm expecting that E100. There he is.
Rip.
Surprise.
Good night. Oh, still alive. Gets the track shot. Now we'll have to see if anyone can come in here to finish it off.
Dark Ninja is able to take out Pompous. All right. That's not bad. One more shell from Rude.
So let's finish it off. 2v3. 2,500 HP they have to get through.
Mr. Man getting a free shell onto Luka Garacha, but Miral to protect him. And now Dark Ninja is the last tank alive. Batchat. There is 1,600 hit points. You could be, holding out for a hero. M60s, can you do it? Chances are pretty slim, aren't they, buddy?
Yeah, I would have to say
with Rude and the
Dark Ninja only has 3 shots in this clip right now.
Yeah.
Now you can potentially kill them all with 1 clip.
He could, but look at the reason I doubt it is this. Look at Rude Awakening in the 1390, right? If I was in a 1390 against a Batchat and I knew I was full health against a 601 health,
you just wait for Dark Ninja to fire a couple shots, and then you are on him like peanut butter on a sandwich.
That's perfect like that. Sticky, not really going anywhere. Kind of a mess to deal with. Honestly, you're probably not going to get all that out there. Yeah. And that's why I really think that top tier should be able to win this. In another situation, if the E100 was a 2-shot and Rude was a 1-shot in the 1390, and the other Batchat Miral on top tier was a 1-shot as well, which he kind of is. If it were that kind of a scenario where some of this health was mixed around, I would actually give Dark Ninja a better shot. But because that light, fast tank still in good shape, he can make sure that Dark Ninja can't play a squirrely game. And
Dark Ninja is going to poke around the corner. Marsh.
Look at Miral's current position.
Yeah, Merle's has the angle there.
He's also using actual bush cover, something you don't see a lot in
on Himmelsdorf.
Yeah,
and part of that has to do with the proximity range. Being that close, typically you get spotted.
Spotted. Dark Ninja's running away. Looks like Miral knows he needs to move as well. And so Rude, I'm going to need to see what Rude's up to, because right now, Rude Awakening in the 1390, I was actually expecting to see him moving, because I would be hunting right now.
Yeah, Dark Ninja
wait, you're defending.
Dark Ninja got the light, and then he's backing out, and he's reloading.
Good play. He needs that.
If he has this full clip, if he can get those other 2 down quickly, it's not out of the realm of possibility of him closing this out. We've already seen one great clutch tonight against the odds.
Yes.
Could we see another one?
This one's the one that's doubtful for me.
The last one was doubtful. That was a 1v4.
The last one was possible, though. This one is I don't think it happens unless Rude goes down for very strange reasons. Like if he gets ammo racked or he catches fire, or just I give credit to Dark Ninja here, but maybe he does an excellent job. Now there's Luka Garacha.
And Penn's the first shot, waiting for it, and that's going to end it 5-3 in favor of top tier.
All right. That was good. We saw an amazing clutch this series from top tier. I think that's going to be the highlight of all of this. Pompous playing an amazing game on Ghost Town. I think early on, top tier looked good. Aquatic looked curiously shaky. I don't know why. I was having trouble reading what they were going.
Well, especially Muravanka seemed a little bit like they weren't all there. They were kind of moving a little bit slow, a little bit hesitant. You couldn't really see a defined game plan.
Yeah. Or it didn't feel like they'd read their opponent and they were making their strategy adapt. It felt like they were just going and they hadn't quite figured out what they were walking into yet.
Yep, and you got to like this play out of M60s. They just offered up Marsh. They said, look, we know you have autoloaders, so we're going to make you waste some of them on the tier 8. They didn't give them a choice, and then they tried to push in and clean it out here. They tried for it. They ignored the E100. They go around. They know he's fired, so they're focusing him out first. Great focus fire.
Yeah, but I have to say that Aquatic, while positioning on their end was admirable in many ways, Top Tier put some tanks in the right positions. Their IS-4 was well placed. Their E100 was so annoying to deal with. Could have been easier to deal with if he'd been further in the front of the position, but he was actually hanging back.
Absolutely.
And because of that, he actually was quite problematic for Aquatic to try and do anything with, which they really actually did want to get rid of those E100s early on.
Yep.
Just get them off the map, because later in the game, that 1 or 2 bounces changes everything.
Yeah, but just the same, they have the worst DPM, so if you ignore them, you know that's going to punish you the least for ignoring them. You can pump damage out elsewhere without E100s trying to pump out damage, but realistically, it's just not a whole lot. And Top Tier, that's probably what they look like right now, doing some dancing.
Did you hear the jams?
They
put some jams underneath that.
Nice.
Just DJ Lush vibes.
Yep. Well, like I said, it's probably them right now. They're happy they got their first win of the Gold League season under their belt, so not bad for their first game in the Gold League, essentially.
Yeah, I don't think we're all too surprised based on the lineup, based on the team that's coming in. I think Aquatic played rather well. I think there are some parts of this that are admirable, but against Top Tier, this is just the first step. Top Tier looks good.
And then Mr. Man putting up 3,600 in that Grill 15, so not bad. And then Rude Awakening 1,500, which isn't bad. That's respectable for 1,390 against going up versus these big tier 10s. But Marsh, on the other hand, not able to do anything. But you have to remember, Marsh literally said, here I am, take me on a silver platter, and that's what happens.
Yeah, I really think I should disagree with doing that, though, because he does need to do damage. He's a tier 8 light tank that's incredibly mobile and reloads.
But look at the rest of this lineup.
Yeah.
Who takes that first volley out of those tanks?
Man, I think there's some
yeah. And
look take a step back on that one.
For those that care about fantasy, Pompous, who's a popular pick, Mr. Man, who's a popular pick, and Bales, all doing decent damage. But looking at it, if you have Veggie on your team, he wasn't even a tier 8 player, just not able to really perform tonight.
Yeah, he got really messed up.
He got focused out a lot of times, so even the tier 8 on his team outperforming him. So, but that's uncharacteristic. Veggie actually was one of the leaders on kills last season, along with Mr. Man. They both constantly were racking up the kills. Not necessarily the most damage, but they were there as part of the team, focusing out kills.
Yep. So that ends it. That's going to be 5-3. We've got Top Tier winning tonight. We also had earlier on, to remind you guys, Apex wins 5-1 over Valence in our earlier match.
And then Eclipse ends up beating... who did it?
Eclipse versus 07?
No, Eclipse versus Rival.
That was it,
and
Rival.
That was going to be Eclipse winning 5-1, tied for first place right now. And then it was 07 versus Deja Vu, a repeat of the fourth place match from last season's final. Yep. That was 4-4. We haven't had an update. I'm sure that's ended, but when we find out, we'll let you guys know.
Yep, and we do have Pompous on the line. Pompous, the hero of last match, sir. How did it feel to clutch on Ghost Town?
I just played my game, and he played really badly, and it was easy.
What was that going on in comms at the time? Because from where we're sitting, it had to be calm, cool, and collected. There's no way that it was a high energy, chaotic situation. Is that? It
was. It's just Rude saying, just giving me little pointers every once in a while, like, "Oh, you got this much time," and it's helpful to know the information.
And
to know that I had to go in at the certain time to hit the shot on the bat chat to reset, and pretty much it.
That was beautiful. And then the way that you handled the T-57 trying to come over the hill on you, the way that you moved, I don't know if you were thinking about that consciously or if that was just instinct, but that was probably the best. You chose to go the perfect best direction for your situation to deal with Dark Ninja trying to beat you. It was quite impressive to see is all we have to say. So
yep, and I just want to say I think it's what you said there about Rude, and just giving you the little things. He wasn't trying to micro your tank, which is what a lot of callers tend to do. They try to get over controlling and dictate exactly when you should do what. He just let you do your thing. Is that fair to say? Just fed you what you needed.
He lets his players play the game, and they show up, they perform for him, and you can't ask more than that. So
a lot of trust from a caller, but sometimes that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. What would you say about your opponent? What was your assessment of Aquatic M60s in their play?
That was like Bronze League level. I don't know what he was doing. He could have easily beat me, and he bounced a shot on my gun, and I don't know. It could have been he just played it really badly. I don't know why he rushed me. He should have just stayed in the cap. I don't know. It was just bad. He was just poorly played. I should have died 8 out of 9 times. I would have died except for that.
So someone's watching over you. You've just got a guardian angel somewhere.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Pompous. Any words for those guys out there that are cheering for you? Your fantasy fans. I'm one of them. I picked you for fantasy. It was great. Thank you.
Thanks for picking me, and I'll be sure to make a better showing in the next matches.
All right. Thank you so much.
Some of the matches I played pretty bad. All right. I'll see you guys.
See you
good
later,
night.
sir. Oh man, that was good to hear.